Heather up here at Tactical Response, and today I will be doing your Medical Monday video. So Kayla has been out sick for a while. Flu season is upon us, so I thought what better Medical Monday video to do than one on elderberry syrup. So just some of the stuff that I have here that we're going to be using today to make it. So I have my elderberry syrup kit. I used to make these and I would sell them to the people in town. I just make them for myself now. But I went out and I foraged these elderberries. They're all over the place here in Tennessee. I got them, dehydrated them, and now I can store them in these bags. They're sealed up top. Also inside of this bag are cloves and cinnamon sticks, right? And so, but elderberries are awesome. There have been tons of studies that show that they can help to prevent the flu, and also that they can help maybe like reduce the like symptoms, like the severity of the symptoms, and make you get over them quickly. There's still like there's some studies that are like, I don't know, but I also just like how it tastes. But I, in flu season, make this up and keep it in my fridge all the time, and my whole family takes about a teaspoon to tablespoon a day, and then if we actually do get the flu, then we actually take about 3 of them a day. And so we do have this. I also have with me some local honey that we got from a local beekeeper here in town. This is from Benton County. If you try to give this to your children, remember that under a year old, you're not supposed to consume honey. And so just be mindful of that. But I do put honey in it to sweeten it as well. We got our eye here that we're going to be using because we are going to have to cook the elderberries. I got my jar that I'm going to put it in. This is probably pretty big for what I'm making today, but it's what I had. It works. My measuring cup, my pot to cook it, and a funnel. I did have a cheesecloth, which is what I prefer to strain like the elderberries and everything out of the juice that we make, but I don't know where that is right now, so we'll probably end up using a coffee filter. But yeah, so today we're going to be making this. Again, this is just something that I thought that you guys would enjoy because it is cold, and flu season is coming up on us. And I actually think that it holds some water, that this does help. This does make you feel better. Whenever Caleb had the flu, whenever he was younger, he used to get the flu literally every year. And whenever I started putting this into like our everyday routine in the fall, and then he took it whenever he was sick, he was over the flu in like 3 days. So I think that means something. So I'm going to go get some water and get this eye heated up, and we're going to make some elderberry syrup. All right, guys, so I have now emptied my contents into my pot. I also did forget when I opened it, I'm going to pour it in there. I added ground up ginger as well. It was dried ground up ginger. It was lovely. It went all in my nose. It was great. So that is also in here. So we got dried elderberries that I found and dehydrated myself. We have cloves, we have cinnamon sticks, 2 cinnamon sticks, and probably about like a tablespoon of ginger. And I think I added like maybe 4 to 6 cloves, and that all came out to about a cup. And then I measured out 2 cups of water, and so it's like a 1-to-2 ratio here is what I'm doing. So now I've got this on the eye. I have it heating up, and I'm basically going to let it come to a boil, and then I'm going to let it simmer. And now it's going to simmer for, probably like 30 minutes. And then once it's nice and simmered, we'll strain it. We're going to put it in this jar, and then we'll add our honey. So it's really important that you let this cool down a little bit before I even put it in the jar. I'm going to let it cool down. If I was in my own kitchen, I could heat the jar up, and then I could put the hot liquid into the jar. But anytime that you're making stuff at home, especially if you're canning or anything like that, cold goes into cold jars, hot goes into hot jars. if you have a cold jar and you pour something really hot in it, it's likely that the glass will crack and break on you. So we are going to let that somewhat cool before we add it to the jar. Also, we're going to have to add this honey. You don't want to add the honey into the syrup while it's cooking, because it'll actually destroy any of the medicinal properties that the honey is going to be giving us. So we want it to just be a little bit warm whenever we add it. I add it to taste. This is basically just taking the place of sugar to sweeten it. It makes it taste good. I don't really need it that sweet. I like the way that this tastes on its own, but for my kids to eat it, I will add a little bit more, because if they don't like it, they'll throw a fit about, you know, taking it every day. So it will be a little bit sweeter whenever I make it for them. So we're gonna let this do its thing. We're gonna let this simmer, and in about 30 minutes, we'll come back and we'll put it in our jar. Alright, so I have had the lid on and it's been simmering. Actually, it's kind of went back and forth between a simmer and a boil for about 25 minutes. I would come back here, occasionally stir it just to make sure nothing was sticking. I'm going to let it cool, and then I've got my jar with my coffee strainer and my funnel here that goes in there, so I get all the chunky bits out. Again, we have to let this cool before I put it in the jar. But something that I wanted to add that I didn't say at the beginning of the video, you can buy elderberries offline to do this. You can buy pre-made elderberry syrup. I like foraging for mine just because, like, one, it doesn't cost me anything but my time. I enjoy foraging, so I like doing it. But if you do forage for them, you only want to get the berries. You don't want the stems, you don't want the leaves, you just want the berries. And it is important that you cook and let these simmer, because it does have some toxic properties, but whenever you heat it up, those things get removed and it is left with something that you can take and consume. So just make sure that, one, again, it's just those berries. A nice little tidbit that can help you that I wish I would have known the first time that I did this. So the first time that I went foraging for elderberries, I went home and I just picked them off of the stems. My fingers were purple and I had like this huge batch of them, so it took a really long time. But something that you can do to make it a lot faster that I wish I would have known about sooner is you can stick them in the freezer and you let them freeze, and whenever you pull them out and they're frozen, they can like kind of shake right off of it, and so you're not just like pulling for hours like I had to. They come off a lot easier, and then you can let them thaw and dehydrate them like I did, or you can keep them frozen in like a deep freezer or something, and that way they're only there whenever you want to use them, because if you try to store them after you pick them, they are going to go bad. So once this is cooled, we're going to put it in the jar. We're going to add our honey, and then I will store it. This is going to be an airtight container, and I'm going to store that in my refrigerator, and it will be good for a couple of months, but it will be gone before it really has time to go bad, because I have 6 people living in my house, and we are all going to be taking it once a day. So we're going to let this cool, and then we'll fill up our jar. Alright guys, so we are actually back. This is take 2. So I didn't have a cheesecloth at the house that I could find, and I was like, actually it was Shelton. I'm going to throw him under the bus for a second here. It was Shelton's idea to use coffee filter, and I was like, it'll probably work. Coffee is a liquid that goes through it. It did not work. My mother-in-law was wonderful enough to bring us the said cheesecloth. The cheesecloth that we got, it came in like a really long, it's like one thing that keeps going, so I just cut it to a size that was manageable for me. I have already taken out the cinnamon sticks and set them over here, just because whenever I pour all of this in here, you're going to watch, I'm going to kind of give it a good squeeze just to make sure all of the juices are out. We put 2 cups in here. Again, I did grab a really big jar. I did not need a jar this big because a lot of that's boiled out. Some of that liquid is. But that's okay. We can always, like, there's still some out right now. In the wild, we can go and get more if we want. Like I said, you can order it online. I like to make sure that I get all of the berries, because after it's in here, I'm going to give it a really good squeeze, And I just like to make sure I'm getting all the juices out. So there we go. And then I'm going to kind of start pushing. Trying to get that in there and push it out. And I'm just going to push and squeeze all of the juices out. Whenever I'm at my house and I do this, I typically have like a big bowl and I just squeeze it with my hands. And that tends to work a lot better than what I got going on now. Alright guys, so I did squeeze this out. So what I ended up doing was I got like a bigger bucket, because that's what I do at my house, and I just kind of squeezed it with my hands, tried to get all the juices out. I probably could have got more, but I didn't feel like doing it for a long time. We got about a cup of elderberry syrup in this thing. I'm gonna add probably about 2 tablespoons of the honey to this. Shake it up really good. I'm gonna probably make more because I said this is a cup. However, you know, if it's only for you, to prevent sickness, they say to take about a teaspoon to a tablespoon a day. Last year when I went foraging for elderberries, I literally had like an entire big like contractor bag full of elderberries. They're just everywhere here. So again, they're super easy to come by, at least here in Tennessee. I don't know about the climate that you live in, but here in the southeast, they're really easy to find. It's really easy to make. Again, we put about 2 cups of water in it, just from boiling it and then simmering it for 30 minutes. About a cup of that gets evaporated. And so just take that into account whenever you're making it. So if you want to fill up this jar, I mean, you'd probably want to do about 6 cups of water. You'll be left with about 3 cups of elderberry syrup. So yeah, we are gonna, like I said, I'm gonna add this honey to it, give it a good shake. I'll go and store this in the refrigerator until I'm ready to make more. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I hope that I have encouraged you to maybe go out, find some elderberries. They're really easy to find. They don't really have a whole lot of lookalikes, and I think that it's a good thing to maybe add into your daily routine in the 6th season. So thank you so much for watching, and always remember that your responsibility to be ready for the fight never ends.